Hi folks, welcome back. I'm Chess, this is the Scapegoat Club, and in today's video I'm going to talk about flying monkeys and estrangement. Hi folks, so estrangement, family estrangement, oh joy, so much fun. Obviously, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I know if you're in the grips of getting around it, it's so traumatic. It's just horrible. It's heartbreaking. And as far as I know, in the research I've seen, being estranged from our families is one of the hardest, most difficult, traumatic experiences we can go through as people. It's just on a human level. It's just so wounding for us. Having said that, from also other research I've seen is that estrangement on various different levels is extremely common, and one of the stats I saw was that it's as common as divorce. So it is something that affects a lot of us, and so I like to talk about it. And one of the things I wanted to talk about and reflect on today is my experience with the other family members. So, and I'd love to hear in the comments actually how many narcissistic people you think that you might have in your family. Because I'm finding that I think in my family, I have, in my immediate family, potentially mom, dad, and sister. And that's 3 out of 4 of us, so quite a high percentage. But what I'm seeing from a lot of comments is that I don't think that it's uncommon to have that. And I don't think that, so just to sit with the statistics for the moment, I don't think 3 out of 4, I don't think 75% of the people in the world are narcissistic at all. But there is a lot of evidence to suggest that people with certain relating styles, personality styles, and ways of being in the world do attract others. So it could be that those of us who have these unhealthy and difficult people in our families then have a higher percentage. We have these little hotspots of narcissism or other personality disorders or difficult toxic relationships. We have those more of those around us, unfortunately, because, well, if you're a healthy person, why would you hang out with unhealthy people? It just doesn't, that wouldn't make sense. So sadly, it seems that like does attract like. So what I'm now dabbling with and getting my head around is how many, or if anybody else in my family is safe. I have disconnected myself from my immediate, very problematic relationships in my family. And going through that was the hardest thing that I've ever done. And I really felt at some points when I was going through it that I didn't know how I was going to get through it. It was so difficult and just so deeply. It was terrifying on a kind of I keep coming back to existential. I know it's a big, horrible, long word, but in like the core of my soul, it was just so terrifying to I couldn't even get my head around it. So if you are in that situation where you're looking at estrangement, I think for me, the kind of key is survival. And the key is just taking one step at a time and thinking, what do you need to do for you? And just not looking ahead and not looking at the what ifs and if I do this. Because thinking about what you need to do for you and if it will lead to estrangement is very daunting. And potentially, I think it can lead us to staying in some relationships that are unhealthy and we shouldn't be in and we shouldn't tolerate. So having said that, I have estranged from certain family members, but I still have a couple of other people in my, like, I'm talking aunts and uncles in my family that I still do have just a little bit of contact with. And I'm starting to question now those relationships too. And here's the reason. At the time I was estranging from my parents, I just couldn't bear the thought that I was going to completely cut all my family ties. It was too difficult. And again, I'd like to hear in your comments, if you've gone through estrangement, whether you were forced to do that or whether you kind of graduated the cutting of the ties and the disconnecting. But I've got to a point now where I just feel, oh, what do I do with this relationship, particularly with an aunt and uncle that I have? Because I realize that I'm very much dealing with people who are not particularly healthy. They're not as dangerous and as manipulative by any stretch of the imagination. I wouldn't put them in that category as my other family members. But they're not helpful. They aren't supporting me, and the relationship is very superficial. And so, what do we do with that when we're dealing with estrangement? How do we handle it? I think if they are trying to pressurize us and trying to influence our decisions around our narcissistic family, then I think that's difficult. Then for me, that is a case of, okay, I can't have that. I have made the decision that I need to make around my family and the estrangement and the distancing for my own health and my own well-being. If I'm going to have somebody saying, well, they're your parents, oh, but he's 80 years old, oh, but she's your mom, she loves you, oh, but why can't you just get on, oh, but why do you have to be so difficult, and oh, don't you love them, why are you being so selfish? Dealing with that kind of pressure, to me that's not acceptable, and that's a deal breaker in a relationship. And that's where I think we need to come back to being very firm in what we need for ourselves. And then it may be that if someone is pressurizing you and pushing you into rekindling, re-establishing, or resuscitating a relationship with a toxic person in your life, and for me that is a deal breaker, and it may mean that I have to cut that person off also. I think though the key thing is, if you're having to navigate that, for me, is I couldn't do all that estrangement in one go. I couldn't rip the Band-Aid off from my whole family and say, no, done. I was going to say, you're on your own. Actually, it would be, I'm on my own. I'm not dealing with you. It was too much. So what I did, for right or for wrong, was to do it one step at a time. And I kept my less dangerous, more superficial relationships, and I have kept them open. Will I continue? I don't know if these people are safe. I don't know how much I can say to them. I don't think they're really ever going to be more than superficially supportive. So do I want to keep them in my life? Maybe. But I think if you're looking at and dealing with the flying monkeys, I think it's okay to do it one step at a time, and to cut out one person and then look at what happens. And then if you find you need to cut out other people, then I think it's really important that we look after ourselves, and that we do it in a way that's manageable, and because it is just so devastating to have to cut these ties. I think it's also really, really valuable to keep a diary, keep a record, or keep letters from the difficult people in our lives to remind us when, when someone's like, oh, surely you can just come to this family reunion. Oh, why do you have to be so difficult? Oh, why are you doing this? But keeping that reminder, not really to open old wounds, but just as a reminder that we didn't cut these people off for fun because we felt like it, on a whim, or just because we were having a bad day. We cut them off for a really good reason, and that is our decision. And if the other people in our lives, our other family members or our friends or whoever they are, if they cannot support us in doing what we need to do to keep ourselves safe from toxic and dangerous relationships, then the question is, how safe is that relationship with these other people? And on that note, it's starting to rain, so I'm gonna wrap up, and my little nose is all red because it's cold. Thank you so much for being here, my friends, and please, please, if you are going through this, take care of yourselves. Know that I am on some level with you and supporting you. It's not easy, and I don't want to say there is a happy ending, but there is something when you come out of it the other side, and know that you're living your own life, and you're living free and true and in as healthy a way as you can. I'll talk to you soon, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. Give me a thumbs up and a like and a subscribe and a donation to the Patreon account if you can. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.